Appreciate you and praying for you tonight. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor.
That water's yours.
Thank you. Turn your Bibles to Genesis and Kings and Proverbs. It's a thick book. Surely there's something in here. Oh, wow. So, Genesis 1, but we'll spend most of our time over in 47 and 48, and we'll look at a couple other passages. Thank you for being so faithful in your place. We say, if you can only come to one service, tomorrow night is the one you won't want to miss. It's just, boy, if you could just come to one, that would be the one to be at. I was preaching in a church, and I have a good time everywhere I go, and I was in a church down in Georgia, and my wife was on that trip, and there was a woman that was in the congregation, and the first service, she was just glaring at me. She didn't stand and sing. She didn't open a songbook. She didn't open her Bible. She didn't bow her head to pray. She did nothing but glare at me. But I'm new. I don't know. How do I know what's going on? Maybe her husband died that day. Or maybe her husband lived that day. Right? I mean, right? How do I know? But boy, the second night, the same thing. She just stared at me the whole time. And she brushed past me after church, never shook my hand, never spoke a word. The third night, I have a good time everywhere I go. I'm not good at putting on the dog. I can't pretend for nothing. And after Sunday morning, she didn't speak a word to me Sunday night. And she brushes past me, and my wife's standing there. And she takes her hand, and she says, I just have one question for you. And Lori said, what's that? She said, what sin were you in that God cursed you with that the rest of your life? And pointed at me. And my wife says, oh, you nailed it. I was backslid bad. She says, this is my cross to bear. Pray for me. This is what I have to put up with. And she says, is he like that all the time? And she says, all the time. And the lady says, I feel so sorry for you, and laughed. So now my wife calls, you know, Randy, if I wouldn't have been backslid bad, I wouldn't have had to put up with the likes of you the rest of my life. But, boy, I'll tell you, I am happy on purpose. God has been so good to me. Tonight, a little unusual. We're here on a Tuesday night in the Baptist church, and if I could preach on anything, I preach on the love of Christ. But there's a lot more in the Bible than that. And the whole thing, no matter where you cut it, it bleeds red. And here, tonight, I want to talk about being people, Christians of character. And I don't know how to, I wouldn't insult you for the world, but the Bible talks about those that are slothful and sluggards, and certainly we're supposed to be diligent, and there's all kinds of scriptures about being honest and being respectful. And I was raised in a lost home, but I was taught to be hardworking, to be honest, to be respectful. And I found out after I got saved and started reading the Bible, all the good things that I was taught have a Bible foundation. My family didn't know the verses, but obviously a generation or two above them preached righteousness, and I got to be the recipient of that. And I told my dad, he didn't get saved. Mama died when I was 40, when she was 48 years old. So if 70 is the benchmark, she died 22 years early. Daddy lived to be 92. He got 22 extra years. So it kind of evens out. But my dad was not saved and didn't get saved. I prayed for him and talked to him for 40 years. And I believe most men, they want to know that what you have is real. They've seen the pretend. Yeah. They've seen the make-believe. They've seen, and just to know there are genuine, sincere Christians who really love the Lord and tremble at the Bible, and they secretly hope, even the critic, that what you have is real, because they know what they have isn't real. And they don't want to be duped or fooled or anything. And so to me, it's always been a big thing to just be principled and charactered and genuine and consistent. And I mention all that because we're going to look at two things. There are those people who are supernaturally gifted in some areas. Some people can't stand that thought that somebody is really, really a great person. But hey, there are people who are natural leaders. There are those people who have administrative and organizational gifts. There are those people who have great experience. There are those people who just have a natural bent toward one thing or another. Through the Bible, there are gifts that God imparts to people, and there are the supernatural, miraculous sign gifts, and then there are the ministry gifts that we read in Romans and other places, and so some people spend their whole time envying. Oh, I hope he trips. I hope he falls. I don't care. Everybody says nice things about him. I know the truth about him. They just envy or despise anybody that's a leader or successful or gifted. Or they spend their time diminishing them. I'll tell you what, I'll bet you their kids tell a different story. I'll bet you when the pressure gets on, he's probably had a supernaturally blessed life. If he had the troubles I had, some people just can't stand if somebody else is happy. And I just want to get past that. When you're a Christian, you just say, thank you, Lord, for what you enable me to do. Thank you, Lord, for what the interests and abilities that I have. And so when we march into our text tonight, we're looking in Genesis right away early about the first kids that were born. I don't know, where do they have kids? Genesis 1, Genesis 2, Genesis 3. They give birth to children. And you get down to 4, and it says, verse 19, and Lamech took unto him 2 wives, and the name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. So this is 4:20 now. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. One boy is a farmer. 21, and his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. Another boy, same parents. One's a farmer, one's a musician. Is one better than the other? No, it's just they have a natural inclination, a bent, a gift, an ability. And then Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. So the third guy, he likes to work with his hands, and he's an artificer. He makes things, a craftsman. Just from the same parentage. And I'm only saying to you, so I'm a farmer, so naturally, animal husbandry, taking care of cows and sheep and dogs and horses and the pig we grew, and you just do what you have to do when you're a farmer. But I have 3 brothers, and 3 of them don't like the farm. I happen to like it. I like being around the cows. The more I knew people, the better I liked the cows. But not everybody who's raised in a certain likes it. There are people who are raised in a certain kind of home and they actually have no intent, no inclination, no anything toward it. But it's natural for those who are in the medical field, their kids pursue the medical field, or those that are in law, a lot of times their children pursue law. And we know that parentage and environment has something to do with it, but genetics and environment, the kid comes home and he's got all F's on his report card and he gives it to his dad and his dad's glowering at him, and the boy says, "See, Dad, they're giving out the same old grades they did when you were in school." Do you think that is genetic or environmental? We'd like to blame everything except taking individual responsibility. And that's kind of where I'm going tonight is let's acknowledge some people are really naturally good at some things, and maybe it's not you. But I want to talk about a few things tonight, and so look with me here, if you will, over in Proverbs 18. We'll come back to Genesis 47. But my whole ministry, Proverbs 18 down to verse number 16, just as a kind of a springboard text, but it's an important truth. Somebody will come to me, "Pastor King, how come nobody ever votes for me to be a deacon?" I'm sorry? "Pastor King, why didn't my daughter get to sing the lead part in the Christmas program?" "Pastor King, I think you want me to be one of the trustees, one of the money counters. I should be in charge of the finances around here." Now, he just declared bankruptcy. This truth that's in Proverbs 18:16 should be branded on everybody's forehead. A man's gift maketh room for him and bringeth him before princes, or before great men. Bringeth him before great men. If you're really gifted at handling finances, the church is going to want you to be in finances. If you're really good at decorating, organizing, leading, we want the most capable people. We want the premium stuff to rise to the top. Nobody's trying to stuff you down. Nobody's trying to keep you under. Don't spend your time always wondering. And I'm going to say this, don't be offended, but a lot of times the people that nobody respects, nobody values their input, nobody trusts their decision making, nobody wants to even hang around them, are the ones that insist they want to be put on the platform. "Hey, I think you should let me preach on Sunday nights." Okay, when 19 people come and tell me that, maybe, but just because you told me that. A man's gift maketh room for. If you're really gifted in a thing, it has a way. Cream rising to the top, making a way for you to serve with those gifts and those abilities. Don't spend your life envying. Find out what you are good at, what you are gifted at, and apply yourself in that realm, in that sphere. We've got a guy in our church, this isn't part of the sermon, but my job as a pastor, every person who darkens our doors, we say, win them, wed them, and work them. Get them saved, get them baptized, and get them busy. When you get someone involved in a church, they take ownership in the church. They don't say, that church has a food ministry. He goes, our church has a food ministry. When they're involved, they take ownership. This is what our church does. So we never are timid about it. Hey, we're trying to get you saved, trying to get you baptized, and then trying to get you busy. But everybody who walks in the doors is not, this guy is an architect, and this guy is a civil engineer, and I don't think he's anything yet. But I had a guy who came to our church, and he stunk. He couldn't spell shower. He was the filthiest human being. He smelled. He just smelled. And he was all disheveled, and he wore just rags, and he came, and he looked like the wreck of the Hesperus, and he says, Pastor King, now what? I'm saved. Now what? Well, we have a locker room. I said, look, we need to get you baptized. Fine. When? Now or when? No, we got to fill the baptistry, and it'll be a blessing in a lot of ways. Right? You got to start someplace. And he comes to me a week later. Pastor King, is there anything I can do? Well, I got just the job for you, Harry. I said, we see those buses out there? We bring kids in on the buses, and they're juvenile delinquents. And about half of them are demon-possessed. And I'm having all kinds of trouble. In the Sunday school classes down in the basement, those monkeys get out of class, and there's a 10-minute break between Sunday school and church. And those boys go in that downstairs bathroom, and they take wads of toilet paper and plug up the stools, and they get them sopping wet and throw them over the divider onto the next person, and they squirt all the soap on the floor, and they run the water, and these guys are, and I said, my janitor's about to quit because of the mess they make, and I need somebody to guard that bathroom from 9:30 to 9:45 or 10:30 to 11:15. And he says, well, what do I do? I says, look, you just stand there. You can't go in with the kids, but you can watch them, and you'll see the kids. You can look at them, and you know who they are. And when they go in there, you just kind of count. If, a kid that age don't need a long time in the bathroom. And so just, if he's in there for more than a minute or two, you just push the door open, say, hey, finish up your business and get out here. Well, Pastor King, you'll never have to worry about that. I'll take care of the bathroom. On Sunday, he's there, raggy jeans, a red T-shirt, and he's got a tie around his neck with this red T-shirt, and he's standing outside the bathroom like he's guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. My job is to get him busy, get him saved, get him baptized, get him busy. He's in the ministry today. He's not a pastor. He's working in the print ministry. But everybody starts someplace. In John 15, the principle, churches battle this all the time. Do I get them faithful to give them a job, or do I give them a job to get them faithful? I crossed that bridge real early in the game. John 15, every branch in me that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. I get them involved and let God work on their heart. He got his hair cut. He got a suit from Goodwill. A month later, he was like, had his religion on like the rest of us. I'm saying if I didn't believe God could take him from wherever he saves to the uttermost, I don't care. I'm not impressed with where they start. I'm interested. We can't write a new beginning. We can only write a new ending. And so I'm just for them. I just want to help them. And so here we have a man's gift maketh room for him. We'll find out what he's good at, what he's naturally inclined to do. All through the Bible, it talks about those men who were men of renown. It talks about those that were faithful men. It talks about the mighty men. Among those born of women, there's none greater than John the Baptist. Admit that there are great men. Hey, just get over your ego, hey, there are great men, Douglas MacArthur was a highly regarded general. Dwight Eisenhower at D-Day leading all of and then he ends up being the president. There are great men, just that's the way it is, and there are in the church as well. The Bible, well here, just turn to Kings someplace. 2 Kings 24. Second Kings 24, what's happening? Nebuchadnezzar's coming to capture Jerusalem, right? This is, hey, we're laying siege to the city. We're going to capture everybody. And when a king conquers a foreign enemy, what do? They spoil them. The children of Israel spoiled the Egyptians. What do? They take everything of value. They're going to carry away the golden altar. They're going to carry away the brass and the laver. They're going to carry everything away, all the things that are valuable. And watch what it says. Chapter 24. 12 says, Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, went out, king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants, his princes, and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and of the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. I'm spoiling. I'm going to take the skilled people. I'm going to take the accomplished people. I'm going to build my kingdom. I'm taking everybody who's valuable. I'm taking the gold, silver, and I'm going to take everything precious. But I'm not taking the poorest sort of people. It's not just talking about money here. There are some people that are more of a drain than a contribution. They're takers. I'll just leave them here. They can keep the weeds down and keep the animals away. We'll leave the poorest sort of people, and I'll take all these into my kingdom. Listen, that's reality. Whether you realize it or not, in the secular world, industry, they're not looking for num-nums who contribute nothing. We had a guy in our church. He says, Pastor King, our company, and happened to be General Electric, they had a plant and they were making some things there. He said, you know what they said? They said they were going to give an incentive program that anything that we do in the next 12 months, that if we have more productivity, they're going to share the revenues of that 50% to the company and 50% to the workers. So all increased profitability, all increased production, they're going to give us half of it. But they can't fool me. They're just trying to get us to produce more. You understand, somebody started a company, put his capital at risk, and gave you a job. And if he can't make money on you, why would he possibly want you? I'll tell you what, they're just trying to take advantage of me. A year later, they closed that plant and moved it to another state. That mentality of, well, why should I work hard? Well, if you're working for somebody, you've got to be productive. That's your only job security, whether it's a small company or a big company, you've got to be productive. And so they took everybody except the poorest sort of the people of the land. So it's with that in mind, we're going to be in our text in Genesis 47. How did we get here? Genesis 47, right? The coat of many colors, Joseph has a dream, and hey, I saw a dream, and my brothers came and did obeisance, and my parents came and did obeisance, and they get jealous and angry, and you think we're going to bow down to you? You think we're going to sell him, and hey, let's get him out of the pit, and and Joseph, type of Christ, a wonderful example. When he's in the pit, he doesn't fail God, and when he's in the palace, he doesn't fail God, right? When wherever he is, when he's put in the prison, he doesn't fail God. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. And of course, the king has a dream, and it troubles him. The Pharaoh had a dream. He calls in his astrologers and soothsayers, and he says, I had this very, very troubling dream, and you guys, you're in touch with all the spiritual stuff. Could you tell me what it means? And they said, okay, you tell us the dream, and then we'll tell you the interpretation of it. He says, no. If you guys are really soothsayers, you should be able to tell me the dream and the interpretation. It reminds me of down in Georgia, I'm driving along one of the main highways, and there's a great big billboard, and it's all black with white letters, and it says, Psychic Convention. And in small print it says, if you're really psychic, you'll know where and when it is. If you're really psychic, you'll know. Well, that's what Pharaoh's doing here. He says, look, and they said, well, you can't expect us to know your dreams. But one of the butcher or the baker, whichever one was in there with Joseph, says, hey, I know a guy. I was in prison with him. He interprets dreams. He can tell you. I bet you can get him on. He'll tell you. And so God gets Joseph out. Joseph says, hey, I'll tell you what, you saw 7 fat kine and 7 lean kine. Here's what this means. The 7 fat means you're going to have 7 years of bounty here in Egypt, and you're going to have surplus crops and wonderful blessings, but that's just to prepare you for the 7 lean years, because there's going to be a famine for 7 years. And so what you need to do is prepare extra food and storehouses so that when the famine comes, you'll be able to save your people alive. And Pharaoh knew instantly, that's the truth. That's right. That's great. And so he makes Joseph second in the kingdom. Hey, tell you what, you're in charge of the crops. You're in charge of the storehouses. You're in charge of making, wow, this is wonderful to have a partner like you. And listen, again, not just in the secular world, but in the church. When you have somebody who gets your vision and is committed to your success, you want to ride the river with people like that. That's who you want to be with. And so, of course, all of this happens, and the story as we get toward chapter 47, the famine is in Egypt, but they had put by a fifth of the crop 7 years in a row, so this is going to help them. And boy, oh boy, the famine hits in Canaan, and now here comes Joseph's brothers. And you've all heard preaching on how Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. You meant it for evil, God intended it for good to save you alive. And this was me going before you into Egypt, and this was all the hand of God. It's a wonderful story, a heartwarming story. So you're familiar with it. Now we get to chapter 46, verse 23 and 4. It tells the names of the people. In verse 26 of chapter 46, and all the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, who came out of his loins, beside Jacob's sons' wives, were the souls. All the souls were 66. So 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. And he sent Judah before him, verse 28, unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. Let me just put a pause there. When I was a little kid, my mom would say, land of Goshen, land of Goshen. What does that mean? Why is that? Well, if you start up in northern Minnesota, and there's a little pond and a little creek that starts, and it's the headwaters of the Mississippi River, and I've walked across the Mississippi River. But by the time you get down by St. Louis, nobody's walking across it. And by the time you get down to New Orleans, now it's 2 miles across. The Mississippi Delta is got 8 feet of topsoil that was washed out of Ohio and out of Nebraska. And it's all filtered down, silted down, and you got this alluvial plain where it's all wonderful topsoil, not rocks, not clay, it's just topsoil, and you can grow anything in the Nile Delta. All right, well, in the Mississippi Delta, the Nile's the same way. It flows north up into the Mediterranean, and that Nile Delta, I mean, hey, it's idyllic. You're down at sea level, the temperature is moderate, you're down there where there is rainfall, where there is a mighty river coming through, and you got all this topsoil, and it's the richest, most productive soil in all the land of northern Africa. There it is, the land of Goshen. When they say that phrase, it's like, can you believe this? I mean, we'd have killed for a field that didn't have stones in it. Our topsoil was this deep, and in a runoff year, a bunch of it would erode down in the valley, and we'd have to go back and try to cover up the red clay. Hey, they come into the land of Goshen. That's the first land they come to. So, now watch. They came into the land of Goshen, 28 verse 29, and Joseph made ready his chariot, and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him, and he fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren, and unto his father's house, I will go up, and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, my brethren, and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. Now, very important, watch. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. Now, the word shepherd, because we commonly use that word to only talk about somebody who has sheep. But if we said the term animal husbandry, that would be anybody. He could be a rabbit farmer. He could be raising mules. He could be having sheep, pigs, goats, dairy cows, big red beef cattle. Animal husbandry, you're taking care of. The word shepherd is a broad term in this use here. It's just, hey, they come and they're taking care of animals. And he mentions they have cattle and flocks and all that they have. I was a dairy farmer, but we had a couple pigs. We had several hundred chickens. But if you asked me what I was, I'd say I'm a farmer. If you said, well, what kind of farmer? I'd say, well, we're dairy farmers. We have 150 head of dairy. But I have some cows, some chickens and a couple dogs. I'm not a dog farmer. I got a couple cats. My favorite cat. When you're raised where I was, it's a different life. And my favorite cat laid down, and it happened to be right where the cow usually laid down. And when the cow laid down, flat cat. I pick it up and I take it over to my dad and I said, look at this stupid cow laid on my cat. And he said, no, your stupid cat laid under the cow. Right? We think differently when you're on a farm. And I said, well, now what? He said, well, do you want a pet that will never die before you do? He says, a sea turtle's the only choice. Everything else you have is going to die before you do. But he said, if you have one that won't ever get run over by the tractor, won't ever be run over by the pickup truck, won't ever be under another cow, won't ever be hit by a car on the road, keep this one. Hard lessons on the farm, hard lessons. But look, what it says, he says, now look, you guys, Pharaoh's gonna come, and I'm gonna tell him that my family is here. And look at verse 32. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle. Verse 33, and it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? Hey guys, I've been here for a few years. Me and Pharaoh are like this. I know how they think. I want you to play this a little fancy. You can say you're a farmer. You can say you're a shepherd. But when he asks you what you do, you tell him it's cows. Why? Because he knows that ye shall say, thy servant's trade, verse 34, hath been about cattle. From our youth, even until now, both we and our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. Look what it says. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. Till this time in history, Egypt had only been captured by one foreign power, but they were nomadic, and they kept sheep, and they despised being under the boot to those tribes. And when they could cast them off, they wanted nothing to do with it. But there's another reason. They don't like sheep. Have you ever watched, you probably don't even get that down here in Cleveland, like Matt Dillon and Bat Masterson and Jim Hardy from Wells Fargo and all those other. No, when they were settling our Wild West and they let cattle range, they didn't want some guy coming and tilling the soil. They didn't want some guy they had range wars over putting up barbed wire. And what they really didn't want was sheep. You know why? Because cows, when cows are out on a pasture, cows will, here's grass growing up knee high, but they will nuzzle past that's already headed out, and they will try to grab some nice 4, 6, 8-inch lush green tender grass and chew it. And then they lay their big body down and they flatten some of the grass and they stand up and they fertilize and hydrate a little bit of it. And cows don't destroy a pasture unless you pack them in shoulder to shoulder. A pasture can survive with cows on it. But you put sheep on it. And sheep will eat everything. They are like a goat. They will eat a tin can. They will eat a bush. They will eat grass. They'll eat that which is in the head. They'll eat that which is halfway. And they'll eat it right down to the roots. And they will nub it right down to nothing till it looks like this carpet. And everybody knows it. And that's why he leadeth me beside the still waters. And everybody that has sheep, you can only leave them here for a little while, and then you got to move them. And then you can only leave them here for a little while, and then you got to move them, and you got to move them. And so in the summertime, they put them up on the sides of the hills. In the wintertime, they bring them back down in the valley because they know they could never stand. Cropland cannot stand a high, intensive grazing of sheep. And here we are. They're in the land of Goshen, the most pasture land they got. This is where Pharaoh has his cows. And look, let's be honest about it. Are the Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, are they pretty good at kind of telling half-truths? Okay, now, this is my sister. It's not a complete lie. It's just not exactly what's going on. You can tell them. You can tell them. Tell them you're farmers. You can even tell them you got some sheep. But tell them, my grandpa had cows. My dad had cows. Ever since I was a little kid, we raised cows. We're cattle. Because look, you guys, be fancy about this. Shepherds, those that carry sheep, they're an abomination to the Egyptians. So, hey, the pump is primed. The table is set. All right, you guys got it? Right, repeat after me. Cows. So we march into chapter 47. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan. Behold, they're in the land of Canaan. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. I expect this like all the way to Pharaoh. Remember what I told you. You guys are the smart ones. Come on now. Let's play this game. Right? Verse 3, and Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? Shocking. And of course, these guys know. They know how to answer this. Here we are. And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. They said moreover unto Pharaoh, for to sojourn in the land are we come, for thy servants have no pasture for their flocks. I thought we talked about this. This is their best land. You got sheep, whatever you do, don't say the sheep. Yeah, we actually have no place for our flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. What's the chances? What's the chances? Well, maybe ask yourself this question. Do you believe Pharaoh of Egypt knew what the people in the next country did for a living? You think he's stupid? You think he's clueless? You think he doesn't know that they have sheep? It's a test. It's a test. What's your occupation? What's your occupation? Are you going to tell the truth? Yeah, not only are we bum-fuzzled about this, we don't have this famine is great, we don't have and wow, you got this beautiful pasture land right here in Goshen, the best land you got. Why don't we just put our sheep there? Pharaoh's response to this Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, Thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any man of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. Now, this is a miraculous thing that just happened here. Despite Joseph's conniving, despite all the worldly wisdom, there's a God in heaven that's keeping track of things. And God was superintending this whole thing. And I want you to see just two things and we're done. Look, first of all, men of integrity. Men of integrity. To this man will I look, he that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. Will you tell the truth when the pressure is on? Will you tell the truth when it might cost you something? Will you tell the truth? Will you be honest, even though you know it might not go good with you? Men of integrity. When Pharaoh said, what's your occupation? And they told the truth, he turns right to Joseph and says, let him in. Let him in. I want those kind of people around me. I want those kind of people in my land. I can trust those men, the ones that tell the truth. And then notice he makes one more condition. He says, and if thou knowest any man of activity among them. Now hear me carefully. There is a combination here. You take somebody who has integrity and somebody who has initiative. I don't care what their gifts are. I don't care what they're naturally inclined to do. They might be good working with their hands. They might be good in music. They might be good. But every company in the world is looking for people like that to work for them. And whether you know it or not, every pastor in the world is looking for co-laborers. You give me somebody that has integrity, has character, has dependability, and then they have initiative. My dad, so many things from my childhood and my youth. My dad wasn't saved, but he was a very brilliant man. He'd talk about some guy. That guy is so lazy, we had to drive a post in beside him to tell if he was moving. Now that's pretty slow. And you all know people like this that are frenetic. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. But they never get anything accomplished. And my dad had a saying for that. That guy could keep himself busy in a bucket. He's just vibrating. He's just vibrating. He never produces anything. But he's convinced himself that he's busy. Pharaoh says, your brothers are here, your family's here. Make them to dwell in the land of Goshen. Let them dwell there. Bring in the sheep. Hey, that's great. They told the truth. They're men of integrity. But if you have, among your whole family, tell me which ones are men of activity. Listen. It's this way in every church. We have a saying, our church is full of willing people. Those that are willing to do something and those that are willing to let them. But if something's going to get built, you want people of activity, men of initiative, people, and ladies. I mean, you understand. Some people, it's so frustrating when you're in leadership and you say to somebody, hey, look, the gymnasium needs cleaning. And so they go and they come back. Okay, I got the broom out. Now what do you want me to do? Okay, I got the bucket of water. Do you want me to start on one side or? Okay, do you know where the soap is? Okay, is there Lysol? It's like pushing a rope uphill. You'd rather just go do it yourself. You just beat me. Please don't come back and talk to me. Who wants to do that? No, I want somebody that'll take initiative and report back and say the gym is clean. That's what I want. I don't want an underling. I don't want a slave. I don't want a grunt. I want a co-laborer. I want somebody who has some initiative, somebody who has some activity. If he makes a mistake, you got to get a car going before you can steer it. And if it drifts over the center line or on the shoulder, hey, we'll just modify it a little bit. But, wow, don't give me this guy who's going backwards. Whether you know it or not, this is true in business. Every company is looking for somebody who has integrity and initiative. You see what Pharaoh said? He's got cows. They're in the land of Goshen, and he has men of Egypt watching them. But he says to Joseph, if you have somebody that has integrity and has initiative, put them in charge of my cattle. That's what I want to build on. That's what I want to have. And I'm just challenging you tonight. This principle in the scriptures, don't spend your time in, I wished I could play piano like her. Oh, I wish, look at, he can build anything. Oh, look at, he's such a gifted orator. Oh, she's probably the best cook. Oh, don't spend your time envying anybody else. What you're good at, you do. When it says in Ephesians 4:16, in whom the whole body, fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. You use your gifts to benefit the whole body. Don't worry about it. We've got a guy in our church, we have an aviation ministry, and his job, what he's good at, what he likes, is when are you taking a trip? I'll get sandwiches to put on there and juice boxes so they'll have something. And then when the airplane comes back, after everybody's out and the airplane is parked in the hangar, then I'll come and I'll take rags and I'll wipe all the oil residue from off underneath the nacelles of the engine so it doesn't drip on the floor, and I'll put little pans under there and I'll make sure that it's all cleaned up for the next trip. That don't take a college degree. Most of what goes on in ministry, anybody could do with a willing heart. You don't have to be supernaturally blessed. You just do it. One guy said to me, Brother King, how did you know you were called? I don't know. Pastor told me to do something. I'm not sure I've ever been called. I just got into doing the work of God. And I'm just challenging you. As a person, if you've never been saved, right? We're trying to win them, wed them, and work them. If you've never been saved, hey, get that settled. It's come on in, the water's fine. Lots of us, we were ain'ts and now we're saints. And it just, I called on the Lord. Once you're saved, then get baptized. Hey, that pictures your faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. You're following in obedience. You're joining with other Christians. If you've never done that, get baptized. And then plug in. Hey, What can I do? Maybe you'll be the sentry at the bathroom for the first month. We got guys who mow lawn, and we have ladies who decorate, and we have people who count the money, and we have people who go around and pass out flyers in the neighborhood. We have people who stand and sing. We got guys who go down to the courthouse and talk to and pray with our legislators and our bail bondsmen. We have people. If you just start looking, what could I do to advance the cause of Christ? I promise you, if you're waiting for the pastor to come up with all the best ideas, if you're waiting for him to hire the next blue chip staff member, if you're waiting for him to start a program that gets everybody engaged, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you're a person with integrity and with initiative, you can contribute to the work of God. It's in, through, for, and with the local church. And I'm just challenging you, hey, get it settled, get saved, get busy, serve the Lord with these other people. Come on in, the water's fine. We're a little, what do they say? We're nuts, but we're screwed onto the right bolt. Heads bowed and eyes closed. You're here tonight and